Good evening, and welcome to Tsukiji Hongwanji Buddhist Temple. Everybody, please join me in gassho. Namandavs, 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 namandavs. Thank you so much for coming and watching to the Saturday English service. Today we'll be observing Gautang, which celebrates the birth of Shinran Shonin. We would like to begin the service with offering flowers, candles, and incense. Now, we'll chant the sutra, Jusege. Please turn to page 3 of the Blue Service Book.
Namandav, 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 namandav. 가곰 조세감 희심무저도 시간 후만족 세이프조쇼각 가오무려고 부이다이세슈 부사이쇼빙금 세프조쇼각 가시조붓도 묘쇼조지뽀 그저미쇼몸 세프조쇼각 리역진쇼넴 조에슈범요 시금무저도 이쇼텐닝시 짐리기엠다 聖無才道少女三苦名交際集約難回避知恵で名詞根門は閉塞小悪道津達全宗門高僧上満足異様老実法日月中十地天候音符伝一種解放像公正苦読法上大集中説法四識供養一切部下足習得本元年信条満得意三害を女仏無下地津達未不詳願学営利投資最小尊志願や国家大戦後感動国書店に東珍妙系ナマンダブナマンダブナマン Namanda, 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 Namanda.
We'll now sing the Gatha Shinshu anthem found on page 5 in the same service book. Congregation, please stand up. Please remain standing for the recitation of the three treasures found on page 4 in the blue service book.
The three treasures. Difficult is it to receive a human form. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Dharma of the Buddha. Now we hear it. If we do not cross over to the truth in the present life, in what life shall we cross over? Let us, with sincerity and true reverence, take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we, together with all sentient beings, awaken to the great way of enlightenment and to the unsurpassed intent of Amida Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we, together with all sentient beings, enter the storehouse of the Dharma, becoming like the wisdom ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we, together with all sentient beings, become units in true accord, in harmony with all things. The peerless, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rare to encounter, even in many hundreds and thousands of kalpas. Now we are privileged to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teachings. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Namo Amida Butsu.
Please be seated. Please wait a moment until we get ready for the Dharma talk. Thank you. Thank you so much for waiting. This evening, we are so happy to have Reverend Dr. Kenneth Tanaka, Professor Emeritus of Musashino University, as our guest speaker. Tanaka Sensei will talk on the meaning of Shinjin realization and entrusting for Shinran Shonin and for us living in the 21st century. I am so glad to introduce Tanaka Sensei to you.
Okay, good evening. How are you? Okay, great to see quite a number of you. We're getting more and more people back after the pandemic. And it's really nice to see a lot of people that I have known. In fact, I have one student here, former student, whom I haven't seen for 20 years. She was a student of mine at the Musashino University. And she showed me a photo of me and her in front of my office. And boy, I look young. Much more hair. And and also good to see so many of you from all over. You know, we have Reverend Luella from England, Yeah, from, and see, who else from, well, of course, Janelle. Janelle is, well, I don't know if you are from the US or Tokyo, but you're like me. We're, you know, I usually say I'm a Pacificer. You know, we live in the rim, the Pacific Rim. So anyway, we benefit from the waters of Pacific, the ocean of peace that brings the rain, especially to California. And so anyway, others whom I don't have time to mention all the people. I mentioned Professor O'Neill, and I mentioned him because he is replaces my replacement, who was Professor Chuck Mueller, and now he is a new young professor at Musashi University. And so we're looking forward to having him promote Buddhism and hopefully Shinshu as well for many years to come. Boy, I wish I were as young as him. But, you know, such is life, impermanent. Today we saw the flowers up here. Actually, we have flower and candle, and they're really beautiful. And actually, they are very symbolic. You know, the candle represents what? Enlightenment, awakening. You know, that's the aim of Buddhism. How about the flowers? Flowers represent the teachings of impermanence. That flower, it looks, you know, nice now, but eventually it will wither and die. But also it represents interdependence. The flower didn't just get there by itself. It's the result of the causes and condition of all the various factors that go all the way to the sun. The sunlight, you know, provided the light to grow the plants and the water. And just so if you look at the altar, you see the symbols of Buddhism. You know, enlightenment, that's where we want to get to, Buddhahood. Buddhism is a religion of awakening. You know? It's not a religion of belief, of something you cannot see. But we can really see the concepts such as impermanence and interdependence. And by understanding interdependence and impermanence, we become in tune with truth. And the more we become in tune with truth, we become closer to the light, the candle. And then the incense, what does that represent? It doesn't represent just fragrance, you know, nice smell, but it is a symbol of cultivation, my cultivation. So, well, it has a meaning of purification, but also you purify yourself, you cultivate yourself. And so that is so all the main teachings of Buddhism can be found right on the altar. So when you look at the flower and the candle, please remember them. And then, you know, remember them, put it in your head and apply them. And again, well, not again, but I wish to emphasize the fact that it is a Dharma path, not Dharma teaching only. See, in Japanese we say Bukkyo, and Bukkyo means Buddhist teachings, but we don't want to just stay at the teachings because teachings mean just more concepts and something to put it in your head, but that's not enough. We have to apply it. We have to try to live it. Even though we're imperfect, you know, we don't really live up to the ideals of the teachings, but the main thing is to walk the path, Butsudo, you know. So I think Japanese, you know, we say Bukkyo, but it should be Butsudo, a Buddhist path. And if you don't practice it, then it really doesn't, you know, it won't sink in and make a difference in your life. So today we're celebrating the birthday of Shakyamuni Buddha. Oh, good. I'm glad somebody picked it up. I was trying to figure if anyone will react. Yeah. Of course, it's not Buddha's birthday. It's Shinran Shonin's birthday. How old will he be if he were alive today? 851. Last year was the 850th. So this is 851 years ago he was born. So I want to suggest we sing Happy Birthday to Shinran. Okay? All right? So we say Shinran Shonin. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Shinran Shonin. Happy birthday to you. Yay. Okay, blow out the candle. Oh, he would say, no, candle represents enlightenment, so I can't blow it out. We have to keep it lit. Anyway, so yeah, because of him, we have a path towards that light. And actually, I really enjoyed the sutra chanting today. I think it's nice to have everything in one book. It's very neat. And Jusei Ge is well, it's clear, and I sense a really nice feeling. People were chanting pretty loudly, and there's a sense of union. And this is a sense of Sangha, And so this represents Amida's compassion. Amida is saying everything's fine. Fundamentally, things are fine. Life is a bumpy road, but basically, you're fine. And I know that all the people that we have lost in our lives, we've all lost somebody in our lives, but they're part of this great compassionate circle that we call Amida's vow. So, and it's up to you to feel that, not just in your head, you got to feel it. And it's, so the Amida is actually all around us. We just don't tune into it. And if you tune into it, you'll make a difference in your life. And because you feel a greater sense of gratitude, but also a sense that I'm not really as perfect as I want to be, but that's okay. We have an ideal to be compassionate and kind and think of others. We can't really do perfectly, but we know what is true and what is important. And it will help to make our lives more meaningful, make our lives, when I say meaningful, makes us feel gratitude for one. Recently, how many of you watched the NHK drama? The morning drama? How many of you? Oh, okay. Come on, admit it. Don't hide it. It's okay. But anyway, I've been watching. Sometimes I don't watch as much, but this time I've been watching them. But we come to a point where it's end of the Second World War, and the men in their family are going off to war. And my wife tells me that they're actually going to die, They won't be coming back. And so it made me really sad. I mean, I really, I liked it so far, but now that the two men in the program will be now coming back from the war, and I realized, boy, and I thought about my father. He, was in Japan, and he went off to war in Siberia. He was one of the lucky ones. He came back, he had us, and he eventually immigrated to America and did pretty well himself. But think of all the people who didn't come back, and what a tough life that would have been. I mean, we take things for granted, the peace that we have, the prosperity that we have. And so So going back to the point I was trying to make, that even with all the difficulties in our lives, it could be worse, like during the war. Not only for the Japanese young people, but, men who were killed in the Pearl Harbor or in the concentration camps of Europe. 50 million people died. And so just the fact that we're here in this relatively peaceful world, of course, things are not perfect. I will tell you, I'm not going to tell you, but Buddhism basically has a view about the world and age. It's never going to be perfect. You may not like to hear that, but that's what they tell us. This is Saha world. Saha world means it's a realm of endurance. Saha means to endure. And so when I was young, I thought, I follow the American worldview. The modern American worldview is that we constantly go upward, progression. And things have gotten, better in many ways, like the way that women are treated, or people of color are treated, or the sexual minority. Things have gotten much better. But still, we have the war going on in the Middle East, and we have Ukraine, and they will continue, unfortunately. So we have to find peace and happiness and gratitude in spite of all the turbulences and the vicissitudes and bumpy lives of our existence. So it's up to us to find it for yourself and then share that with others in whatever way possible. Some of you are able to share the teachings, like the ministers who are here, and others, you can do it through your own ways. You can teach music, and you can, teach language. You can, do medical fields. There's so many things we can do to help others to make this world a better place. Now, all that I've just talked about, I wasn't going to talk about it, and so I'm going to have far less time to talk about my content here. But it's okay, because what I've just shared is probably more important than, no, I wouldn't say that. It's almost equally important. And so today I want to talk about Shinjin, and for those who read Arabic, there's this. Oh, sorry, it's not Arabic. Okay. I'm always going to say something different to make sure that you are listening. Okay. So anyway, Shinjin, and this is actually in Shinran Shonin the most important thing, most important teaching. This made him, live till 90. To the very end of his life, he was teaching because he was inspired, because he had experienced this Shinjin. And okay, so you say, well, what's Shinjin about? And I don't even have, what I'm going to talk about, I don't have it here either, but I wanted to just say that there are other things important in our lives. As a human being, we are concerned about physiological. As a human being, we're born and we need to eat, we need to have clothing, we have to have shelter, taking care of our, physiological needs, right? That's probably the most important thing. And because if we can't eat, and we won't be able to be here. And so then, as we grow a little older, we become more, have needs for social, to be loved and feel a sense of safety. So we need housing, we need a safe environment. And then we have, as we get, after this need is complete, satisfied, we have the mental. Now, mental includes a lot of things. Basically, happiness, mental happiness fulfillment about your job or self-esteem, feeling good about yourself. And so we all aspire for that. And then the fourth one, I'm going to call it, I've been debating on the way up here what to call it. In Japanese, it's better. In Japanese, I would call it shukyoshin. Not shukyo, but shukyoshin. And most Japanese, when you say shukyo, they said, oh, only 30% say I'm involved in shukyo. But if you say, is shukyoshin important? The mind of religion important? And they will say, yes, it is important. And so, shukyoshin. But how do I translate into English? And well, it could be religious mind. But, I think spiritual. So these are all the things that we aspire for. Put in a different way, the needs that we have, and many of you probably already recognize this. I've seen that before, and it's kind of like, what is it? What's the psychological model? The Maslow's, levels of it's a little different, but the point is that we have all these different needs, and so with Shinjin, which one are we talking about? We're not talking not about this, not about this, not about this necessarily, even though mental part does overlap. But we're talking basically about the spiritual. Maslow talks about self-actualization, actualizing yourself, finding your authentic self. That's one way of talking about the spiritual, the religious mind. But Shinjin is referring to this level. So most of you are interested in this. That's why you're here. Most of the people out there, they probably don't care too much about this level. But in order to be completely be fulfilled in life, I think we need to satisfy this dimension. And why? What's the difference between the mental and the religious or the spiritual? And the religious or the mind or spiritual goes to the heart of the meaning of life. We're all born into this life, and we sometimes wonder, what is this all about? Why am I here? Where am I going? These questions cannot be answered just by the mental. But we have to think about, life after death as well. So the spiritual determines or supports us with regards to questions about things beyond this life. And also deeper meaning about this life. So, and today in the three refuges, if you can turn to page 3 of 4, the three treasures, it's difficult to be born into human life, but we are now living it. Difficult is it to hear the Dharma of the Buddha. Now we are hearing it. And then he says, if we don't cross over to the truth in the present life, in what life will you cross over? So this truth is in the realm of Shinjin. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about Shinjin. So anyway, many years ago, when I came back to Japan to study in graduate school, there was a sesshin at a Zen temple in Fukushima. And so I went there for 5 days. And I kind of went with an attitude of, I want to learn different kinds of Buddhism, so I will try Zen Buddhism. And I went more with an attitude of a tourist, it'll be nice to experience, Zazen. Boy, it was tough. We meditated from 6 o'clock in the morning all day, and I was so happy because by the time it came to the evening, I was so tired to go to sleep. But anyway, so I'm doing my best, and then the guy next to me, he was being hit really hard. They have that stick, the keisaku or kyosaku, and they do that for a number of reasons. Especially if you're kind of dozing off, they'll hit you, perk you up. Okay, so I'm doing it, and the guy next, he was being hit really hard, and I said, boy, this guy's not good. He's not doing well, and I was feeling sorry for him. Well, anyway, at the end of 5 days, 3 teachers who were doing the hitting came up to him, not me, came up to him and said, congratulations. And I said, what? This guy whom I thought was not doing well, they congratulated him. Why? Because he had attained Kensho. Kensho. Kensho means to see the nature, and that is the name of the attainment of awakening in the Rinzai Zen. Not so much Soto Zen, but Rinzai Zen. And so I thought, wow, all the time this guy whom I thought wasn't doing well, he was being congratulated for attaining and what I consider to be equivalent to Shinjin. So Shinjin is sometimes considered, it's kind of devotional, it's just faith or belief. But no, Shinjin is realization like Kensho. And that's one of the points I want to make today, that Shinjin is an example of Buddhist awakening. That's not just faith in the teaching, which gets you started, but this is a higher level. It's a level of, anyway, I won't go into that too, but it's the highest, the lowest level of the realm of the levels of the sages. Go stream enter, or the stage of joy in the Mahayana tradition. So, and Shinran talks about this. But often, people who don't know about Shinshu say, well, your faith is like devotional. It's, popular belief. No, it's not. And Shinshu has a history that goes back 2,000 years to Sanskrit texts. It's not just like a folk religion, as some people think. So we need to have, understand that and have confidence when people say, oh, you're just like Christianity. Say, no. There's a long history that goes all the way for at least 2,000 years, and if not more. Okay, so when did Shinran realize that? He realized it in 1201. And Shinran, Shonin, he rarely talked about himself. He hardly talks about himself like me. I'm always talking about myself, but Shinran Shonin, and he rarely wrote about what he experienced. But in the Kyogyo Shinsho, his main writing, there's one thing he does say. In the year 1201, I abandoned the assorted practices and turned to the teaching of the primal vow. So on page 2, I have, I, Gotoku Shinran, disciple of Shakyamuni, discarded sundry practices and took refuge in the primal vow. Okay, so he experienced it, and most of us, we interpret this statement to say that he had, abandoned the teachings of the, Mount Hiei and Tendai practices, And he entered the teaching of Honin, his teacher's teaching school. So we can say that in 1201, he had some kind of a religious experience that really made him committed to how he wanted to spend the rest of his life. Of course, I'm going to talk about whether it's just one time or many times. But for now, it's clearly he had an experience. It's not just a belief in something that you don't fully understand, but he had a total life experience. Now, Shinjin, just make so that most of you know this, but Shinjin is realized in this life, not in the afterlife. And then it assures us that we will be reborn in the Pure Land, or born in the Pure Land. Pure Land is another name for Buddhahood. Aim of Buddhism is to become Buddhas, especially Mahayana Buddhism. Every Mahayana school, the aim is to become Buddha. Okay? That is the ultimate goal. Shinran is very honest, saying, in this life, we cannot attain Buddhahood because we are bambus. Okay? And I can relate to that. There's no way I can overcome my, three poisons: greed, hatred, and ignorance. So, but with this realization, we are guaranteed of becoming a Buddha. But also, we are embraced in the compassionate working of Amida. Juseige that we chanted, that's all talking about the fact that we are embraced in this, compassionate working, which we call the primal vow. Okay, and then this may not be a great concern to you, but with birth in the Pure Land, you don't have to practice in the Pure Land, do different kinds of practices and rigorous disciplines, but you become Buddha immediately. Okay. But all of this, the source of Shinjin is not from you, but it's given to us by Amida. The source is the primal vow. So these are some basic things to note. Now the question is, number 5, how do we realize Shinjin, and how do we know when you have it? That's a big question. How do you realize it is one, and how do we know if you have it? If I were to ask you, do you have it? And probably some of you will, say, I'm not sure. I have some experiences, kind of like a peak experience, but I'm not sure if that is Shinjin. And these are valid questions that actually in Jodo Shinshu, even though we say it's the most important thing, we don't really talk about it as experiences in our own lives. One of the reasons is that if you look at 5D, Renyo Shonin, and he is to be, Renyo Shonin is the 8th patriarch of the Hongwanji tradition, and he is said to be the one who really made Hongwanji a huge institution. He's called the second founder. Well, he says something to the effect here, and I'm just going to summarize it. That if you say, I know, I understand, in other words, I have Shinjin, then he says, you really don't have it. But if you say, I really don't understand, then you have it. It's kind of ironic. But it's kind of it's very subtle, but let me just read. Those who think I understand do not really understand, while those who think I don't understand do in fact understand. To understand means to understand how precious and amazing it is that I, an imperfect, foolish being, Bombu, am saved by the Amida. So we should not think that I understand. But anyway, so what it's basically saying, don't be bragging, or don't so if you were telling people, then it's probably not, that you probably really don't have Shinjin. But in either case, it's a little bit more complicated and subtle. But the point is that in our at least in my experience of Jodo Shinshu gatherings, we rarely have people, talk about their experiences. Partly because of this kind of statement by Renyo, and also I think a Japanese sense of modesty and humility. And so we really don't know who has it and who doesn't. And although it's not that important that we understand, we know if the members of our Sangha have it or don't have it, but we would like to assume that our teachers have some experience of it, right? And I want to ask Reverend Yamamoto or Reverend Nanjo, and they probably said, oh, no, not me. And that, and so in that case, you're in keeping with Renyo. If you say, I don't really have it, then you probably have it. But anyway, don't be confused, okay? But the point is that we don't talk about it very much, and why? And so it's like 5B and C. In Jodo Shinshu, we as ordained ministers, we don't confirm people's Shinjin. Maybe we should, Maybe we can make some money. Do I have Shinjin? Yes, you do. For a little bit of, no, I'm really kidding. See, this is televised though. Oh boy. Now they will think, Jodo Shinshu, they're out to get money. No, I was just simply kidding. And I'm glad that we don't do that. I have no capacity to judge whether you have Shinjin or not, and I really don't care that much. I really hope that, with whatever we can do to assist you, you will be able to realize Shinjin. And, but ultimately, it goes down to subjectivity. So teachers don't confirm it. You have to feel it for yourself. So it's very subjective. And therein lies the difficulty, not knowing whether if it's really. So today, I want to kind of support you in knowing whether or not your subjectivity or subjectivity can point towards the fact that you have some understanding of Shinjin. But anyway, page 3, Shinjin is experienced in different ways for different people. But Shinjin is not, again, it's not just simply belief or faith or just entrusting. And actually, this word has different meanings, multivalent, they say, different meanings. So that's why in Hongwanji translation, they didn't translate it. They just kept it as Shinjin, mainly because there's so much dimension, so many dimensions to it. And I am saying again, and this is the second point I want to point out, is that Shinjin is not simply belief or pious or devotional, but it is awakening. And so, like Kensho, awakening. And it has actually 4 dimensions. And 6C, I have, entrusting, yes. Entrust in the fact that, we are embraced Namida's, workings. And then I want to go to 4th one. There is wisdom, understanding, insight. And because of that, then you have joy and you have no doubt. And so in the 5th patriarch or 5th master of Jodo Shinshu, his name is Shandao. In Japanese is Zendo. Okay? So he has this famous passage which Shinran quotes in page 7. And if you can read together with me, okay? So A, deep mind is true and real Shinjin. One truly knows Shinchi, oneself to be a foolish being full of blind passions, with scant roots of good, transmigrating in the three realms and unable to emerge from this burning house. And further, one truly knows, Shinji, now without so much as a single thought of doubt, that Amida's universal primal vow decisively enables all to attain birth. So you have this two, deep mind is same as Shinjin. And so on one hand, I am a foolish, imperfect, ordinary being, Bonbu. And then, but I am embraced in this working of Amida's universal compassion, so I am fine, just the way I am. So, and then the point that I wish to stress is that I underline truly knows, okay? Not faith or not belief, but I truly come to know in my life experiences that this is so, especially the Bonbu part. And speaking of Bonbu part, and this is one of the, Reverend Kubose, I don't know if any of you know, Janelle probably knows, because he wrote a famous book called Everyday Suchness. He was a Higashi-oriented minister in Chicago, and he used to sign his name Oneness. Often he liked, because oneness is another translation for the ultimate truth from which Amida emerges. It's called suchness, dharmata, dharmakaya, hosho, and all these different terms to represent the ultimate truth. But one time he wasn't writing well, and he wrote one mess. So his son, who unfortunately passed away recently as well, he was telling me this, and he was laughing because he liked to tell jokes, and so so when we were talking about this, he says, "Oh, that's great. This is the essence of Shinshu. Okay, we are one mess. Okay, one mess, embraced in oneness. Okay, so this is a catchy. So remember this. The essence of Shinshu is I am one big mess, but it's okay because we are in this oneness. So exactly this, two dimensions, the deep mind. And to put a little meat to what I'm saying is that, before that, I just wanted to quote, this is a famous passage that I love, that, see how joyous I am. My mind and heart are planted in the soil of the universal vow. Allow my thoughts and feelings to flow in the Dharma ocean, which is inconceivable. So, one way of thinking about, this is a wave, okay? This is the ocean. So the two dimensions of that Zendo, that I, imperfect, limited being, we're like the wave. But we are embraced in the ocean. We come out of the ocean, we are part of the ocean, and then eventually we will return to the ocean. So this simile is very effective in my thinking. And so this also refers to the two dimensions of Shandao's, Zendo's quotation. That, okay, I want to share an event that happened over 30 years ago, which I have written in my first ocean book, but I haven't talked about it for over 20 years. It has to do with my experience with my 2-year-old son, our 2-year-old son. And that is, one time I came home from work, very, very tired, and so I just kind of lay down in the couch, wanted to go to sleep, take a nap, and then I feel somebody pulling my shirt, and it's my our second son, Nathan, 2 years old. But I didn't want to wake up because I know what he wants to do. He wants to wrestle with me. But I'm in no mood to wrestle, okay? So I just pretended I was sleeping. But he's very persistent. And he's, daddy, 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 you know. And so I said, oh no, he's so insistent. Can't he see, you know, I'm sleeping, I'm tired, you know. He's so persistent. I had all these bad thoughts about my 2-year-old son. He doesn't understand, you know, how tired I am, and he's only thinking about himself, and you know, all this. That's the bombu part, you know. I'm thinking only about myself. So, but finally, I opened my eyes to scold him, and there he is. He has a blanket in one hand, and he wanted to put it over me so that I can go to sleep more comfortably. So this is an example of, you know, this relationship earlier that kind of a self-centered me, a bombu, thinking mostly about myself. But here, this 2-year-old kid, you know, we never taught him to do this, but somehow he went to the bedroom, dragged out the blanket, and he wanted to give it to his dad. But his dad was, you know, thinking. So this is an example. This is symbolic of how we are often. You know, of course, we are all self-centered. That's the nature of human being. But despite that, we have what is symbolized by my son's compassionate act of being embraced by thoughts about ourselves, the things that support us, just like the wave. We are a wave, but we are embraced by the ocean. So this is the 2-dimension to which we should awaken to. So when I talk about Shinjin being wisdom or insight or realization, that's what we come to realize. And we don't have to, you know, my son is not Amida Buddha, but my son's action represents compassionate action that, in our thinking, is part of the much greater inconceivable compassion that embraces us. So if you look in our lives, there are tangible examples of such acts that are being done for us. And so the idea is to try to catch it and appreciate it. So I want to bring it to a close, but this is really important part too. The third is chapter 4 is page 8. How do I know I have realized Shinjin? That was a question that I asked. Okay. Now, ultimately, it comes down to your subjectivity, how you feel. You know, sense of gratitude and appreciation, sense that I'm away, but I'm embraced by this compassion and supported. And I think the best, sometimes we say, well, I had this peak experience. And I have my share of my so-called peak experiences. And I've talked about it elsewhere. I don't have time to talk about it now. But I think that it's okay to think about these peak experiences. But more reliable is, you know, when you look back, say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and compare to then, you feel a greater sense of gratitude, greater sense of well-being, and a sense of, you know, being connected. And if you feel those, that is, I would like to think that is an expression of the compassionate workings that are manifesting in our lives. But one last point that is just as important, and which I forgot to even read in the very beginning, is that at the very end, there is this passage here. I want to look page 4 at the very bottom. And this was at the very top. But, okay, can you read together? And we'll conclude with this. Bodhisattva Vasubandhu declares that this true and real Shinjin is none other than the aspiration to become a Buddha. And I should have read this at the very beginning. But this is key to the question of how do I know if I have Shinjin or if I've been impacted by Shinjin. So what is being said here by Shinran Shonin is that this is what Vasubandhu said, our second master in our lineage. The real Shinjin is none other than the aspiration to become Buddha. Aspiration means wanting to become enlightened, wanting to be delivered, the three treasures, cross to cross over, to become Buddhas, enlightened. That aspiration itself is a sign of Shinjin. But it's not good just 1 week or even 1 year. But I feel that if you have been sincere in listening to the teaching, wanting to learn, come to service like this, attend other services, and read books and ask questions, that is an aspiration. And that is an evidence, according to this, that of Shinjin. So true and real Shinjin is none other than the aspiration, wanting to become Buddha. So I would say at least 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and if you're really sincere, without any kind of other extraneous motivation, like if I go to the service, they'll give me candy, or like we used to do in the temples in California, you go to services and you get a candy. And I had a friend who thought that's why we chanted a Junirai, Koga Chodai Mida song at the very end, and he thought he was saying Chodai Chodai Kudasai, oh please give me, and that's why he went and he was chanting. But that's not for children, that's fine, but for adults, the sincere, honest appreciation of wanting to reach this, fulfill the spiritual need. That is an evidence of the fact that Buddha's compassion is working, that you are embracing the compassion, and that it is an evidence of Shinjin. So there's finally, there's one other passage that says, to hear means to hear the primal vow and be free of doubt. Further, it indicates Shinjin. So I have scriptural evidence from Shinran to support this. And so please, on this occasion as we celebrate Shinran's birthday, to note what was the most important experience and teaching for Shinran, which is Shinjin. And Shinjin is not something that is far advanced for us. All of us can experience it to some degree. And as I said at the very end, if you are sincere in your search, that already means that you are embraced. In fact, all of us are embraced. We just don't really know it. Okay, so I will bring it to a close, and thank you for listening, and I hope that you have a wonderful evening. And if you can, please join us for a reception afterwards. I think oftentimes Sangha is important in our search, in our spiritual quest, because we help each other and get to know each other and support each other. Namandams, namandams, namandams.
Thank you very much, Tanaka Sensei. Now we'll sing the gatha Namamida Butsu, found on page 6 in the blue service book. Congregation, please stand up. Please be seated. Let us recite together the Sincere Creed found on page 2 in the same book. Followed will be the recitation of the benediction.
If you will follow with me on the bottom of page 2, the Shinshu Creed. The Shinshu Creed. We single-heartedly take refuge upon Tathagata Amitabha for the enlightenment in the life to come, abstaining from all sundry practices and teachings and giving up the trust in our powerless self. We believe that the assurance of our rebirth comes at the very moment we are led to entrust upon the Buddha. And we call the name Namo Amida Butsu in happiness and thankfulness to the Buddha's great compassion. We also acknowledge gratefully the benign benevolence of our founder and the succeeding masters who have led us to believe in this profound teaching. And we do now endeavor to follow throughout our lives the way laid down for us. Amida Buddha surrounds all men and all forms of life with infinite life and light. Particularly does the Buddha send forth loving thoughts to those in suffering and sorrow, to all those in doubt and ignorance, to all who are striving to attain truth, and to those whose feet are standing close to the great change men call death. Amida Buddha sends forth oceans of wisdom and compassion. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Namo Amida Butsu.
I would like to thank you, all of you, for attending and watching this evening service. The next service will be held on 22nd June at 5:30 p.m. in the same room. The guest speaker will be Esho Moraishi, resident minister of Kolinji Temple in Kanagawa. And the topic will be, When I Die, Who Dies? We look forward to seeing you again. Let us put our hands together in Gasho. And there will be a dinner reception held on the room behind this hall from 7 o'clock p.m. and the cost will be 2,000 yen per person. Please feel free to come and join us, and please feel free to come forward to offer an incense. Once again, thank you so much for coming. どうもありがとうございました。